All right, cool. So we'll just jump right in. This will be sort of a rapid fire Q&A since we don't have much time left. Can you tell us more about how your investment philosophy has changed after your Lehman Brothers put fell through?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a bit of a perverse view on this, and I'm not here to make friends. I think if you can take advantage of a stupid bank, you should. In fact, a lot of Wall Street's built on this. The banks that wrote the CDS and other risk for some of the huge trades in the mortgage crisis, those banks were dumb. They put their clients' money on the line, and they shouldn't have. And the hedge funds were really smart in the way they structured those trades to take advantage of the banks. If Deutsche Bank wants to, I have this big trade I want to put on regarding the spread between equities and debt. If they want to put $2 billion of this trade on, and I only have to put up $50 million, and they want to take that risk, let them take it. That's up to them. I felt horrible for what happened to Lehman, but over time I paid them back, and I've wanted to take a lot less risk. I've been a lot more careful, and I also realized what I was good at. You know, I'm not a great trader. I'm a terrible trader. I'm a good investor, and I'm a great entrepreneur. So I realized painfully that I should stop banging my head against the wall and start going with the flow instead of against the flow. I always wanted to be a great trader. It's so romantic. You're clicking buttons, and all the money's popping out. It's exciting, but I'm bad at it. And sometimes, you know, you have to. Somebody's got to tell Michael Jordan he shouldn't be swinging a baseball bat or something like that. But, you know, I'm a great entrepreneur. I put my record up against anybody. But, you know, I learned that you should not push against the closed door.
Gotcha. Okay, so now talking about drug pricing again. The question is, why did you raise Daraprim prices by 5,000%? And I guess I would add on to that, how do you choose what the appropriate high price is for a drug if you're intending to price more aggressively?
Yeah, I mean, so the reason for why is there's a few reasons for that. I mean, the first is that, obviously, to increase profit for the shareholders. I felt the price was untenable. At that price, one course of Daraprim is 40 pills. So the same price for one curative treatment for a life-ending illness is the same price as an Xbox. To me, that doesn't make sense. We know that things that are really valuable should be priced at least somewhat near their value. And at $20,000, Daraprim is still unbelievably underpriced. There's, again, that weird gross to net problem where 2/3 of the drug is given away. $250 pills, you need 40 pills, that isn't a lot of money. And if you look at the efficiency of cost, there are drugs that, here's a Soliris, meet Soliris, it's $400,000 a year, you take it for the rest of your life. You're going to pay this company $9 million over the course of taking this drug. You're not going to pay it, your insurance will pay it, but it's $9 million for having a rare disease drug. So my $20,000 didn't seem so bad to me. You know, it was an election year. I'd done this before with other drugs without a hitch. It happened to be an election year, and all went haywire. But again, I made sure that I would take the profits and not stuff them in my pocket, but and live a different life than I'm used to. I was living the same modest and charitable life, and I took the profits and I said, I'm going to invest in a better Daraprim. Daraprim sucks. It's my only product, and it sucks. And I want a drug that is worth a modern medicine. That drug was invented 70 years ago. People get angry if their iPhone is a year old. Imagine the life-saving drug you need to survive is 70 years old. It was made before people even knew anything about DNA. This drug only kills the 𝗕𝗢𝗎𝗪𝗔. It does not kill the human. Daraprim kills both. Daraprim's a poison. If you keep taking it, you'll die. But you hope that it kills the bug faster than it kills you. And that's not a great medicine. And nobody wanted to make this thing. There was no interest in making a better Daraprim until I came along. So I sort of felt I would ask this community of toxo patients to reimburse this medicine more, and at the same time, I would give them back a much better drug.
Gotcha. And then jumping over to your experience in finance, how did you get funding to start a hedge fund at 24 years old?
It was the biopharma trade. So, you know, you beg and beg and beg, and you ask a hedge fund manager if you can work for them, and some of you have figured that out, which is great. Tell them you went to Harvard, and that helps. I played guitar for Jim Cramer to win his fancy. And he asked me if I played. He said, "What do you do? What's your deal?" I said, "I play guitar." And he said, "Really? So if you brought your guitar in for the second interview, you could play me songs?" I said, "I play any song." He said, "All right, we'll see." I bring the guitar, I play him, you know, his wedding songs, and he's happy he hired me. You never know how you get your break, but you know, I worked hard. I got a reputation for working really hard, too hard sometimes. And I suggested that one trade that worked out really well, and I was smart enough to tell some other people. People inside my firm didn't appreciate it as much as I wanted them to, so I told a few other people about it. And the reputation of making 10 times your money in a few months is something that people will remember. And even though I didn't make any money that year, I made $80,000 that year. It forever people said, this is the guy that picked the one stock that went up 10x this year. And from then on out, people were willing to give me small amounts of money. I started Retrophin with $2 million. I started my first hedge fund with $2 million. After I failed at my first hedge fund, investors were a little more cautious. Then I started a second hedge fund even less.
I was also curious about that. How did you get funding after the first fund?
I was very close friends with the investor, and we practiced together, and we made a bunch of money in his personal account. He was actually my college friend. We decided to roll that boulder up the hill again. And when we started a drug company, we did that with $2 million. So it became a $1 billion drug company. I owned 20% of it. I then started Shkreli. We raised $100 million without lifting a finger. And so it got easier as we proved our success. I owned 50% of Shkreli. So you do the math. I think Turing's worth about $1 billion. So it was very lucrative, but it was a lot of pain and a lot of kind of modest starts between then and now.
Gotcha. So this question, it's sort of lengthy, but I guess the essence of it is you mentioned that the government should step in and essentially guarantee reasonable pricing for critical drugs. How do you see that dynamic playing out in terms of, doesn't that create an incentive for drug companies to price even more aggressively if the government is backing it? And this question specifically asks about nationalizing the drug research process.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a good idea, but I think that when a drug has gone off patent, a firm should not expect any more earnings from the drug, and nobody does. It's just that on occasion, if there's 3 suppliers for one generic drug, and one has a production problem, and the other one merges with another company that doesn't want to make anymore, you got a monopoly again. And that really shouldn't happen. That's not the spirit of intellectual property. And guys like me will sit there and wait for something like that to happen and take advantage of it. Again, I'd rather do it ethically. I think most of my rivals don't know the difference between a nitrogen atom and an oxygen atom. At least I pretend I'm doing something. The average guy is just sort of, look, we're trying to make money. That's not my goal. I hope I've made that somewhat clear. I had to rush through it. But, so I think if the average drug company like Pfizer doesn't expect any earnings after their patent expires. And it's this sort of weird little, call it vulture capitalists, like what a lot of people think I did with Daraprim, that take advantage of that situation. So if the government's just providing these old drugs as a utility forevermore at a low price, I think that's a good thing. Nobody's getting hurt. Maybe a couple guys like me will have to go do something else with their money. But, I think creative destruction is a great way to fix laws. Someone is abusing some kind of loophole. That's a great way to learn there's a loophole and close it. There's a carried interest loophole. Hedge fund managers become billionaires off the carried interest loophole. It's going to close if it hasn't closed already. And by having laws that get tested, the laws get better over time, and we evolve as a society. It's one of the reasons our country's so great.
Hey, Martin, I got another question, if that's all right.
Sure.
I'm kind of curious. I know we talked about this a while ago. What do you think, in your opinion, is something that researchers or physicians should look into when it comes to treatment-resistant depression, TRD?
Well, I mean, if you're a psychiatrist, you should care. But if you're not a psychiatrist, I don't think it makes a difference, right? I mean, physicians usually specialize, and if you're a GP or a primary care physician trying to help, in psychiatry, you probably would refer to a psychiatrist. So I'm not sure it matters too much, but for psychiatrists, I mean, obviously the success of ketamine has sprung a strong interest in the NMDA receptor. Right. So people are focused on NMDA, but there's other, the problem with all depression is you have limited clues from genetics.
Right.
Now there is a big new neuroimmunology focus on companies like Lundbeck and others have sort of said, well, immunology has worked for cancer, it's worked for everything else, why not try it for the CNS? And that's probably not a crazy idea. It's more fringe. It's new. And NMDA is kind of proven. The only question is, can we get a super ketamine that has less side effect and so forth? And companies like Norex are working on that. But because a lot of NMDAs have been tried, and nothing can quite replicate the success of ketamine. But in terms of neuroimmunology and neuroinflammation, Lundbeck and a handful of other companies have sort of said maybe we can tone down some of the stress that happens in the brain and some of these illnesses. I don't have too high hopes for that. Excuse me. If there's anywhere I think it might work is actually in more of the diseases of aging, like in Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, because that sort of tends to shockingly correlate with, older age, which is also correlated with immunocompromised patients. So it's possible that those illnesses are actually autoimmune diseases. And that hypothesis has been around for a while, but it's really starting to gain a lot of traction now that cancer has been more and more seen as an autoimmune illness. So for TRD, again, it's going to be serendipitous like it always has been. There's more focus on, serotonin mechanisms, but I think we've milked everything we can out of that, subtype receptors and things like that. Now, the D2 antagonists, the antipsychotic drugs, they have been partially successful. So with those, with ketamine, with some handful of others, there does begin to beget the question of, do we really need to worry about it? Because, and that's one of the reasons pharma has strayed away from depression. It's a serious illness. There's still a lot of suicidality, but after ketamine, it's hard to. Of course, we want a better ketamine. We want a better Prozac. But you really are dealing now with an illness, post ketamine at least, that will have multiple decent treatment options. Define decent, as you will, but if you look at Alzheimer's, there are no decent treatment options. Right. So, I think people want to bet their chips in that world, and they really view them, I think Big Pharma sort of looks at the brain and says, that's sort of one disease world, and I kind of want to, if I'm going to do anything in the brain with all the risks that come with it, I'm just going to do it in Alzheimer's. And I think that's, a little bit of a foolish way to look at it, if you ask me, but I still think that's the reality we have to deal with. And, people want to deal with it that way. And, that's fine.
I'm pretty sure they've done different studies as far as to measure just general activity and event-related potentials and such with patients that have TRD. But is there any kind of correlation that maybe a decrease?
There's definitely some electrotherapy type approaches that people have thought through. Anyway, I gotta take this phone call, so I'll be back.
Oh, no worries.
Particularly, I was curious about benznidazole. I'd heard before you talk about Daraprim and how even people who didn't have a lot of money could get access to the drug for cheap or for free. And one of the reasons I think I'd heard you say that was that, how American health insurance works. Law obligates you to provide the drug for cheap and so on. But I had noticed you purchased the worldwide rights to benznidazole.
You know a lot about drugs?
What'd you say?
You know a lot about drugs?
No, I don't.
Okay, just checking. No one has the worldwide rights to benznidazole. It's not a drug that you could have the rights to.
So I saw there was a document where you purchased the rights. I had thought it said worldwide rights from, if I have this right, it's Savant. Yeah. So when they went bankrupt.
A company that I'm a shareholder of purchased.
Right.
Purchased a formulation of benznidazole. Anyone can make benznidazole.
I see. So when I saw in the document that describes the bankruptcy procedure, it says the words worldwide rights. So that's why I was under the impression you had purchased the worldwide rights.
The drug's not approved in the United States.
Right.
there's no patent on it, so I'm not sure what rights one can purchase.
Well, presumably rights outside of the United States.
I'm sorry, it's the same condition outside of the United States. The drug's not approved in Europe or anything like that, and there's no patent on it, so.
Isn't it used in South America?
Yeah, we don't have those. There's 2 companies that own it in South America, and neither of those are Savant.
I see. So I guess kind of what I was trying to get at is, would the same protections that apply for poor people getting Daraprim apply to this drug, benznidazole?
Well, it's not even FDA approved yet, so.
Well, I assume you would try to get it FDA approved.
Yeah, that's a risky and expensive proposition.
Well, why else would you buy it?
Yeah, we're gonna get it FDA approved, hopefully, but that's like saying, you know, I don't know. It's like saying, you know, it's a future thing. It may or may not happen.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, it seems like the course of action you're going to try to take is to get it approved, like you said.
That's the dream of every drug company. That's like Nirvana, you know? There's like 40 drugs approved every year, and there's like 5,000 drug companies trying to get drugs approved. It's not like it's not like starting a website.
So, like, say you did get FDA approval.
It's not me, the company. I don't get FDA approval for anything.
Okay. Say you're...
It's a company I'm a shareholder of. I'm not even the CEO or on the board of directors.
Sure. So say that
what will happen if that company gets FDA approval? I think, like for most drugs, it's no different from any other company. If a patient has insurance, we're going to bill their insurance as much as they're going to bill the insurance as much as they can. And if the patient doesn't have insurance, hopefully they find a way to get the drug some other way through Medicaid or Medicare or some indigent patient program or something like that.
Selling a priceless heirloom.
It seemed like with Daraprim, you were like very confident that nobody would be without the drug.
I think most companies work pretty hard to make sure that their patients get their drugs.
That seems kind of like an equivocation.
Why?
Well, rather than say like, yes, I would guarantee, you know, that anyone could get the drug if they couldn't afford it, or no, I'm not going to guarantee that. Those would be direct answers. But when you
I've been pretty direct about the subject.
What'd you say?
And I think that it's not an uncommon perspective.
Well, I mean, the reason why it seems like an equivocation to me is when I asked, you know, what about people who couldn't afford it? You said, you know, most people hope they can either get it some way, you know, or can afford it, which is not a direct answer.
As an investor, Martin doesn't have control over how the drug's going to be distributed, right?
Yeah, I hope the CEO of the company figures that out.
Well, I'd assume
I'll give you the link for his blab.
What'd you say?
I'll give you the link for his blab. Hold on.
Martin, did you eat today?
You're the majority shareholder, though, of 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗀, right?
For now.
So I assume you have some say over what they do.
No, but I don't micromanage. Whatever the CEO does, I let them do it. I don't really.
Pretty sure the
care.
CEO of Domino's isn't telling these deliver the pizzas in 30 minutes or less anymore. I don't know though. I could be wrong.
He might be telling them something like, "We should have a strategy to deliver pizzas."
Not really.
In the snow?
Domino's got a car now, like the Domino's car.
They got a Domino's car?
Investors.
Yeah, they like make it. Like they made a car for their pizzas.
Most investors leave little things to their executives.
Like, it doesn't seem like a very little thing, though.
It is a little thing.
The benznidazole? I was under the impression, like, it would be a big impact for the company.
Benznidazole is an important drug. The access programs and exactly how they work is not something most investors spend a lot of time thinking about.
I mean, that just seems like really at odds with how you react to Daraprim. Like,
Well, I was the CEO of that company, so I had personal responsibility for all of it, whereas I'm an investor in 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗀𝗀𝗧.
You're the majority shareholder.
Do you know a lot about investing? Are you dense?
No, I don't see what I do or don't know about investing has to do with...
I'm a shareholder of the company. I'm not going to be a majority shareholder for long, and it doesn't really make a difference. The management team is going to do what they're going to do. I'm not going to tell them what to do.
So you were the CEO when you came up with the plan to purchase benznidazole, or however you say it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, like, even though you're not now, if you were, or what was the original plan?
You want as many people to get your drug as possible. How many times do I have to say it?
I'm more going for the people who can't afford it.
Yeah, you want as many people as you can to get the drug as possible. Anyone
And
who has the illness, you want them cured.
And if they can't afford it?
You try to get them the drug. I mean, Jesus Christ, you are dense. Stop asking me the same question over and over and over again.
Do you want Martin to say that he's going to watch these people die and suffer and laugh while he goes to the bank? Like, what are you trying to get at?
No, what I'm trying to get at is I've seen other people ask kind of a similar question about Daraprim. And whenever people ask that question, then Martin says, like, nobody goes without the drug. If you need the drug and can't get it, you can, call me.
That's been my policy for every drug I've ever had.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking. Like, is it the same?
Well, I mean,
no, I really want to save toxoplasmosis and 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗓 patients, but if you have, I just want to destroy everyone else.
When time comes and this question actually has an answer, maybe Martin will be a little more direct, and maybe you'll be a little more direct.
Yeah, the time isn't now. The time is several years from now. Right now, most people spend their time in this situation worrying about getting it approved, let alone worrying. If you're lucky enough to have it FDA approved, then you put all the access programs in place. It takes 5 years. It's going to take 5 years to get that thing approved.
Martin may not be a majority holder in 5 years, right?
All right. Well, thanks for talking about it, I guess.
Yeah, that was a pleasurable experience.
Go invest in 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗏, but just don't talk about it.